This is Monica Perez here with Weezy of the What is Truth podcast. We've been bonding over our not always popular views on some big topics. And I think we come from different sides of the aisle in our perspectives, our approach. So it's always fun to see two different ways of seeing the same things. And so I'm very excited to talk about that. But there are other things I want to talk to you about, Weezy. So I hope you're ready. Hello, and thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. I've had you on my show a couple of times and it has always been a delight. So thank you
Yeah,
for having
it's
me on.
very fun. And I'm sorry I'm starting late. I just have had a really crazy couple of days, but it's anyway, this is just not a big enough cup of coffee. I think that's what happened. My tiny coffee is no longer enough. But here's the thing. I want to talk about anything you want to talk about, but I was listening to your conversation with We Have the Documents, John, and I hadn't been following the Virginia Giuffre thing, and her name was Virginia Roberts. I hate it when they change their name like mid-race because then you can't track it down. And I had, I noticed that she is reported to have died reportedly by suicide, and I just, I mean, that in itself seemed kind of crazy. So then took it down even further. I didn't know there was like a dead pill, kill switch. What the hell is
Kill
it called?
switch.
Can you
Yeah.
tell? I'm sure I think my listeners probably don't know about this. Can you tell us a little bit of background? You follow the Epstein thing pretty closely. So
Yeah.
who is she? Like, what are two sentences? Who is she? What happened to her? And what the hell were you talking about with the dead pill thing?
Well, Virginia Roberts Giuffre is probably the most high profile of the alleged Epstein victims. And she's been in the forefront, had been in the forefront for many, many years. And then I think after her would probably be, the Farmer sisters. Uh, the reality is there were thousands and thousands of victims, um, and it might be a bad take, but the way I look at it is, I've I started becoming skeptical um, of Virginia Roberts Giuffre for a number of reasons.
Like, how
He,
long ago? Well before her suicide.
yes.
Okay,
I
yeah.
want to say a couple years back, and part of the reason was it almost seemed like she was making it a point to exonerate Donald Trump. And I thought that was weird. Her attorney,
Brad
same
Edwards.
thing. Yeah. And so when you look at the case, Donald Trump and Epstein were best friends for 15 years. And a few months back after Hurricane Milton, we left. I live on the west coast of Florida. When the hurricane came, we went over to Miami. And before we came back home, I had heard that Mar-a-Lago was super close to Jeff Epstein's mansion. I wanted to verify that for myself. I drove by Mar-a-Lago. I went to Epstein's house within walking distance. These
Really?
guys were friends for
There could be a
15
tunnel.
years. Possibly. I mean, these guys were friends for 15 years. Anytime I hear these QAnon folk or these people that want to say I have TDS, say whatever you want. I am not cool with someone being best friends with one of the most notorious peds because you're on YouTube.
Yeah,
you
sorry
know,
about that.
no, I'm gonna be mindful of my language
I don't
because of
care.
that.
As long as if I start getting strikes, I literally take all the videos down and then just
Yeah.
start over so I don't get kicked off. So as long as this isn't the third strike, I think I do have one strike right now. Oh, but I don't think you
Oh
can
boy.
stream when you got a strike. So I must have gone away. Anyway, yeah, no, go ahead. Don't hold back. I don't care.
Yeah, it's and you know with Virginia Roberts, I've come to the realization the last couple of years that um, I feel the real victims are the unknown Epstein victims, the thousands of them, the ones that have been forgotten, the ones that are still living in trailer parks that no one ever talks about, or sometimes referred to as uh, underage prostitutes. These are girls. These are kids. These are girls.
No,
What is
that's
wrong with
really
you? You know, it's it's insane to me. But going back to Virginia Roberts Giuffre, it was a weird set of circumstances the last few weeks of her life. I mean, maybe she's still alive. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean, I always wonder with stuff
anymore.
like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
they think they're gonna still be alive like McVeigh. I think McVeigh thought he was gonna get airlifted out of that execution chamber at the last minute. I don't think he did, but I think
yeah,
they think that. And I saw a false flag thing in Iran once. Nita, I think her name was Nita. She was a protester. She got shot in the leg. She was like basically died right there in the square, but it was totally fake. But then she did end up dead. So I think like in the ambulance, they actually killed her, but you think you're playing a game and then you might end up get dead anyway.
yeah. You never know. I mean, I'm assuming we'll probably get into the Trump assassination
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. No,
because it's
definitely let's
almost
talk
a
about
year
that.
anniversary. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost
July
a year.
13th. I remember distinctly. And it should be a fucking like commemorated day. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like they nearly blew the president's head off. Like that does not, that's a big deal. Well, the future president,
allegedly,
the locked him.
allegedly.
I know. So yeah, so um she
Virginia Roberts.
I
Yeah,
was thinking that she was a little uh, her story did like kind of veer off. It was very plausible in the beginning. And of course, she has the iconic photo with her and Prince Andrew where she looks like a young woman in the picture. So it
yeah,
totally makes think in the back of your mind, you're like, well, it's not a pedophile. Like, you know what I mean? It's not a prepubescent girl.
yeah.
Um, and I always thought that was funny that she was the face of it. She was smiling in the picture, so happy. I'm not saying she's not the victim. I'm just saying that's maybe they put her out there for a reason, in that way.
That's where I'm starting to think, because even with the Prince Andrew photo, there were a lot of people that wondered if it was fake. Not because they thought Prince Andrew was a good guy, they thought he was a scumbag, but there was questions about whether that photograph was real to begin with.
Oh,
And so,
really?
yes. And
Well,
the
I'm sure
whole
he would.
deal with remember Alan Dershowitz? The
Yeah. Was
whole
that one real or not? That one, I think there was a real. I remember
yeah,
some people saying there
but
was a real question.
Dershowitz felt exonerated.
Yeah.
He felt like he won the case against her. So, and then let's look at some other stuff with Virginia Roberts. She was always bling blinging, living large. Nice little bling bling everywhere. And like I mentioned at the very beginning, a lot of the real Epstein victims to this day are still living in trailer parks. They're super poor. Anyone that is familiar with the West Palm Beach area, there's a huge disparity with the super wealthy
Yeah. Yeah. And the workers.
and the super poor.
Yeah.
And that's where Epstein and Maxwell
Especially
recruited
in
that
Florida.
it was a fertile recruiting grounds, for the less fortunate girls. And
Yes.
so when we look at Virginia Roberts Giuffre, she became somewhat the face of it, the spokesperson for it. And then, a few months or a few weeks, I'm sorry, prior to her
Reported
her
death.
alleged death, yes,
Reported.
she was in the hospital apparently because of a bus accident. And yet immediately when the pictures came out, John Bristleman and I, we were like, doesn't look like a vehicle accident. Those injuries looks like an open hand injury type of deal. And then what, Missy's in the chat right there, but she's a former nurse, and she said, why isn't she in medical garb? Where's the IVs? Where's all this stuff? There was none of it. It was almost like she was posing for that picture, which I thought
Hey,
was super
do you
strange.
so you're saying there's a death photo of Virginia
No,
Giuffre or
no, no,
whatever?
no, 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 no. It
In
was
what
when she got
picture?
in that
Oh,
she
car
got in
accident.
a
Oh, right,
in a
right
bus
before her
accident.
death. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, bus accident. She had the alleged bruise eyes, but if you study the picture closely,
Yeah, I
it's like
understand.
it doesn't make any damn sense. And then if you're she said in that picture that she was 4 days from dying, and she's giving a selfie and making Facebook posts when she's 4 days from dying. Like, it's bizarre. I'm not laughing because, I think it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
It's
you
just
think
it's
it's just
bizarre.
yeah, I know, I
It
used to
it's
laugh at the beheading videos. There are real ones, but I
Yeah.
only laughed at the fake ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
Wow,
so,
yeah, I see this picture, yeah.
yeah, look at that picture super close. I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about. It doesn't go in line with someone that suffered her alleged injuries
Yeah,
and whatnot.
okay.
And so then she dies allegedly, by suicide. A short time after that, and she allegedly, or so about a week ago, I have the video on my Twitter. I put you can listen to the whole audio. And on that show that I did with John Brissom, I play the entire audio clip as
Mhm.
well. And
I heard
so,
most of it.
yeah, as soon as I heard it, I was like, man, this doesn't sound real at all. The
Right.
cadence was off. You can hear the pauses, but it seems pretty clear it was a QAnon type of, video leak, based on, bringing up Obama, someone that hasn't been tied to Epstein at all whatsoever.
Yes,
But
and she
Trump
threw
has.
out the boys thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Hanks, as soon as she said Tom Hanks, I was like, I mean,
And
that's
even Bill Gates, that
yeah,
she
I don't
said
know if
that
that's a
everyone
trope
loves
or
Bill
what, but
Gates.
Tom Hanks got Greek citizenship, so, like, that was a running joke that so, like, that she brought him in seemed like red meat for the Q crowd.
Yeah, it was just, it seems pretty blatantly that it was a QAnon propaganda. So this tape, or kill switch, apparently starts off with, um if I let me see if I can pull it up,
Yeah, it's
and
really
if
it's good.
if you
So
want me to
while you're
play it.
looking, take your time, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna say stuff. So, I one thing that I like about listening to you is because you're I assume you like I think we've talked about this before. Kind of your natural ideology is probably left. Like you would be coming from the left. So if you were like a libertarian, you came from the left, or as a lot of libertarians come from the right. And people who come from the left, it's much easier for them to see. So like my example is during Bush's term from 2000 to 2008, after 9/11, Democrats knew that Republicans did it. They like spoke openly that the Republicans did 9/11. And when Obama came along and covered it up, then all of a sudden, and he hired Cass Sunstein to be his information czar and to write, I think in that year, 2008, that little story, Conspiracy Theories, where they invented cognitive dissonance. I mean, they suppressed that stuff intentionally, but like so you can look critically at something like Q or Trump and say this is this is a psyop. And a lot of people who come from the right, like we were talking on Union of the Unwanted, a lot of people were like, "You're crazy. I mean, we should just, or you should give the benefit of the doubt, or maybe I don't know." And I'm like, if you didn't, if there's something that didn't make you feel like you were on this guy's side, whatever that may be, you would be laughing at the fucking Tony Soprano ear bandage. Like, I don't know if you remember the Sopranos episode where Tony was the victim of an assassination attempt. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then for the whole episode, he's wearing a bandage on his ear. So like we had those pathways carved in our brains. Like this is something that can happen. And so when you see it like recreate, it looks stupid. So anyway, I'm just filling
No,
time
I
while you're looking up
agree.
the video. But it's
Well, and
true.
that's the
I
thing.
do think it's easier to talk to people um who aren't ideologically aligned with the subject of the criticism because you really feel like you're hurting. Like I don't want it doesn't help Monica that you're attacking this guy when he just, he loves this country and he's trying to do right and he hates Democrats. Somebody sent me an article today. I'm not like continuing to blabber if you're ready, but sent me an article today and a quote in it was, and it was absolutely accurate. What Trump is a face for contempt against the modern government. So it's not what you want. It's not like the ideology that you want or the Bill of Rights or anything like that. It's just he gives vent to people's hatred against AOC or whatever. And because of that, you don't want to criticize him because it's not only because criticizing him is criticizing what you like because it's the person. It's not I'm not criticizing the Bill of Rights by criticizing Trump, and you don't like Trump because you like the Bill of Rights. You like the person, you have faith in the person. Anyway, sorry, probably
No,
saying too
and
much.
I want to.
I'm not. I don't mean to hit it too hard, but all right, if you got your thing, let's do
Yeah. Okay.
it.
This
Should I just
is. Let's see. I'll hit the play button here.
if you can?
And I have because the 2 minutes and 20-second rule on Twitter, so it's only one part. I got both
What does
parts on
that
my
mean?
Twitter.
Is that like the copyright thing?
No, that's how long your video can be when you upload it to Twitter.
Oh, I
It
did.
has to be under 2 minutes and 20. So let's listen to it and watch. I think most people will be able to pick it up that it's pretty much AI.
If you're watching this, it means they got me. My dead man switch activated automatically after I missed 2 scheduled check-ins. I had it set up months ago because I knew this day was coming. I did not die by accident. I was murdered to keep their secrets buried. My name is Virginia Louise Giuffre. I was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I survived Little St. James, but survival came at a price. I saw too much, knew too much. And now they've silenced me. But it's too late for them. They thought killing me would bury their secrets, but this video is going to a few organizations I trust, ones that have been exposing the truth for decades. You know who you are. It's your job to continue this fight. I was 16 when they reeled me in. I worked at Mar-a-Lago, folding towels, cleaning lockers. My father kept the tennis courts immaculate. We were just working folks trying to scrape by. Trump, he was around, but he was never the threat. The real predator was Ghislaine Maxwell, prim and proper, smiling, promising to teach me massage therapy at the Pink Mansion in Palm Beach. I had no idea I was being fed into a nightmare machine. Epstein's Island was hell disguised as paradise. You've heard some names linked to him, but those are just the sacrificial pawns. The real players, the ones they've protected at all costs, are still hiding in plain sight. I'll name 2 now. The first, a former US president, Barack Obama. Publicly, he's revered. Privately, he was one of the worst. He wasn't there for the girls. He was there for the island boys. Young boys, trafficked and groomed. I saw him more times than I can count, always without his Secret Service detail, sometimes with his Hollywood friends, George Clooney and Tom Hanks. I still have nightmares about them, arrogant and drunk on power, slinking into the cabanas with kids.
All right, so
Wow.
I think you get the idea that it's
Yeah.
pretty much QAnon
Shots fired.
propaganda. Yeah.
But yes, it did sound like it sounded very stilted. At first, when I heard it when you were playing it before you guys started talking about it, I thought it was she was reading and that it was edited like when you use an automatic editor that takes the spaces out,
Yeah.
it makes the cadence funny and some of the stuff. But then I did notice before you said anything that she pronounces Ghislaine strangely. Like you're right, she knew these people.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say Ghislaine. That's definitely
G-
not how it's Ghislaine. Like it's like Elaine
Galen
or
is how
whatever.
she pronounced it. Yeah, and the other thing that I caught the first time I heard it was like she knew both of them on a first name basis. So why is she calling him Epstein instead of just Jeff?
Yeah. Why would you?
So,
Yes.
yeah, it made no
Yeah.
sense. So
I never call my friends by their last names.
yeah, like it's ridiculous. And
But
the more you listen to it, it sounds pretty good if you're not looking for it. But I mean, it is getting better, man. That's the scary part.
well, the content itself is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's absolutely no way that it would work. Like if you know what I'm saying? Like if it were out there, it would take 2 seconds to bring it down. I remember there were 2 things I've looked for in the past. One, and it took a little while to take them down, but now I think it would be I have had comments taken down from my YouTube while the show is still going on. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Well,
content is being removed while like right at the second. That's how instantaneous it is. Okay. And this is today. This thing
yeah.
came out now. So in the past, I looked for two things. One was a Michelle Obama at like some church thing saying something about Whitey. That was a real thing. And they deny it and they pulled it down. And the other thing was Rick Perry was stopped. There was a dash cam of him getting stopped, like a traffic thing, and him just screaming at the cop saying, "Do you know who I am?" Blah, blah, blah. Totally scrubbed. So this thing would have been scrubbed, I would say, before anyone could grab it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's preposterous.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it didn't really make a big splash, because it was straight up, for the Q crowd, to placate that, which Trump does quite a bit. He placates to the Q crowd quite a bit. If you look at his Truth Social post, he'll make little hints that, trust the plan, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Flynn and whatnot. So QAnon has kind of disappeared, but there's still a little bit of base, and there's a thought process. I don't know what you think about this, Monica, but there could be a false Great Awakening where they could pretend to arrest people like a Hillary Clinton or a Tom Hanks and put them in El Salvador. You know what I mean? To make it, it'll all be theater, in my opinion. But it would then, like, all the people are like, oh man, I dismiss QAnon, but maybe they're telling the truth, and it'll revitalize them once again.
It could give a panopticon effect too. If you could get some people. So I always think that these guys who are, there have been a couple of well-connected people who were involved in shootings, or I should say, I can think of two examples. I won't get into the other ones because it's too long a story, but let's just talk about Edward Snowden for a second. So Edward Snowden, I found pictures of him from before he was a known person, and it was really like amateurish pictures in the back of, I think, like a gay magazine, kind of like he was, I don't know what, looking for jobs, but it said like acting or whatever. He's looking for an acting job. I don't know. But I have this suspicion about him, about Julian Assange, and about this it was the Santa Barbara shooter.
Yeah.
Where I think maybe they were just transitioning or cross-dressers or whatever, and they dropped out of sight because they were willing to do a psyop because they were happy to like live this other life, like to be secret. They were fine walking around in women's clothes because Julian Assange was in a drag show when he was young. Used to have a postcard totally scrubbed of him, like it was like Jane Mansfield or somebody like that. Anyway, it's a crazy involved thing, but I have a feeling that sometimes these people are willing to take the exit ramp for enough money and live this other life, because for the most part, they're not really locked up in an Ecuadorian embassy for 8 years straight, or they're not, you know what I mean? They're not really in the Moscow airport, because there's absolutely no way Edward Snowden was there. But so I think it's possible people will take that exit ramp. Maybe Virginia did. Maybe they end up killing you in the end anyway. Maybe it's witness protection. I don't know. But it reminded me of Edward Snowden for another reason, in that she said in that clip, lots more will be coming out, and I'm giving it to these people. You know who you are. Why do that? If this is your dead drop, why not say, this is absolutely everything I know? Everything I know right here. That way everyone knows it. Why on earth would you feed it to some specific thing, some entity, and take it slow? And what happened, like with Edward Snowden, he said that. He said he's still feeding stuff out. What the hell would he possibly know? And everything he came out with up front had already been revealed, because I used to follow this kind of thing. Yeah. So I think they may be setting her up for this Edward Snowden type, her persona, whatever, Edward Snowden type, forever leak. And how much information would she really even have had? She wasn't Maxwell herself, who would have known everything. Anyway.
And I think it's all related. I mean, with the exoneration of Trump, uh, it's kind of funny where a lot of people are getting frustrated. His base, a lot of Trump's base, is getting frustrated with him. Where's the Epstein files? Where's the Epstein files? You have Dan Bongino. You have Cash App Patel uh, saying that Jeff Epstein definitively killed himself. Don't question it anymore, guys. We got this. Put your faith in us. And so it's kind of falls in with all that stuff, man. It's trying to placate the doubt in the administration, if that makes any sense. And it's I wanted to read something because it kind of goes back to the fundamental question of what is reality with all the nonsense going on. What the hell is true?
That's why I love the name of your podcast, What is Truth? I mean, that is really the heart of it. And Tinker says, nowadays, even if Virginia, went on live TV and spilled the whole truth, it would still be looked on as fake. As a society, we are screwed. And that is true. I mean, there's no way out of it. And that in itself, what it is a big waste of time. To try to figure it out.
I want to read this. It's a little blurb from David McGowan. He wrote it in Wagging the Moondoggy, but it's a
nice,
very good piece on reality in general. It says, what primarily motivates them is fear, but it is not the lie itself that scares people. It is what the lie says about the world around us and how it really functions. For if NASA was able to pull off such an outrageous hoax before the entire world, and then keep that lie in place for 4 decades, what does that say about the control of the information we receive? What does that say about the media and the scientific community and the educational community and all the other institutions we depend on to tell us the truth? What does that say about the very nature of the world we live in? That is what scares the hell out of people and prevents them from even considering the possibility that they could have been so thoroughly duped. It is not being lied to about the moon landings that people have a problem with. It is the realization that comes with that revelation. If they could lie about that, they could lie about anything. And that's the late, great David McGowan. But I mean, that is so profound right there. Because
I agree. Yeah. Go
ahead. It's similar to the conversation we were on Monday, where we touched on the Trump assassination attempt and how some people were getting super emotional about it. And what bothered me the most, I'm not saying I'm right. I could be wrong. Maybe I am wrong. But why can't we entertain that it could all be manufactured? We've been lied to so much. The moon landings are one of them. I've gone super deep in the Lincoln assassination. That whole thing is
really?
fake.
Who did it?
My gut feeling, if I was a betting man, I'd say Henry Rathbone.
And who is he working for?
I think it was kind of like it is today, where the South and the North
international bankers
in cahoots. Yeah, I mean, you have
Russians.
You have all kinds of ties. You have the Jesuit connection as well, which is pretty. I mean, one of the co-conspirators was John Surratt Jr. Left New York, went to Canada. From Canada, went to Liverpool. From Liverpool, went to Rome, became a papal bodyguard immediately. That's freaking weird. Who financed that trip?
And John Wilkes Booth, Claire Booth Luce, big time like Catholic subversive.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Claire Booth Luce and her John McMurray or Murray, whatever? I have it here.
Well, and then what's her name? Tony Blair's wife. I think Teresa Blair. Teresa Blair is also a Booth descendant, which is something David McGowan brought up. Yeah, David McGowan's like, it's interesting how a lot of these Booth descendants are in high places of prominence all these years later. When you look at other assassins, they've been forgotten in the dustbins of history, but those descendants have gone up.
I have another book here by McGowan, Understanding the F Word, American Fascism and the Politics of Illusion. I think I might have to read that one soon. So I wanted to comment on a couple of things you said. First of all, the McGowan quote, the idea that, well, somebody asked me once, think it was Lions of Liberty, asked me what's the craziest conspiracy or the most shocking, far out radical conspiracy theory, and I said it's JFK, because everyone knows that the president of the United States' head was blown off by a conspiracy within the government that has been covered up for 60 years. And in school, they teach a lie everyone knows is a lie. I mean, it's just a lie. And most people, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people know. And think of what that says about our government, that they would cover up the assassination of this young, vital president. And that's the thing. That's what's shocking. Same thing with 9/11. They're like, I can't even imagine that. I mean, I didn't really know it was an inside job until 2013, because I was looking and I'm saying, I don't believe they would do it. Not
Yeah.
that they could or whatever, or did. And then when I realized they did Boston Marathon bombing, then I knew that they would do it. But, somebody did it.
Yeah.
So you're just, you can't conceive of your side being the bad guy.
Yeah. That's just it, because we live here. Our lives, for the most part, are comfy. We got the white picket fences and whatnot. And so our conception of reality is completely warped. I mean, right now, right this second, the uncomfortable realization that there are kids living in dumpsters at the landfill looking for pieces of food just to live another freaking day.
In this country,
People don't want to think that. They don't want to go there. That's too much. I'd rather live. I can go to 7-Eleven if I want to right now, get me a coffee, get me some smokes, go home and watch some Seinfeld or whatever. You don't want to think of how cruel the real world is. It's too much.
But here's the thing. I have to, just because that's a lefty thing to say, that kids in the United States are eating out of dumpsters. So I'm not denying it, but you're talking about in the United States.
I said in the third world countries.
Oh, okay. Because
like
people will say that about the US also, which may be true, but I will tell you this. I did the math on the taxes that we pay in this country. We pay something like, 40% of GDP is taxed, is absorbed by the government, almost entirely redistributed. So to the point where the top half, and I did this math a long time ago, so I'm sure it's still basically true. The top half, you could pay, everybody in the top half could pay the taxes that they are paying, and everyone in the bottom half, man, woman, and child, could get a $25,000 or $30,000 after tax check every year if you just limited the government to necessities and basic defense spending, and a couple of $1 trillion. I did a lot of math on this. So the poverty,
I was talking about
but the poverty in this
country. Yeah.
Right. But even to the extent we have it in this country, it's intentional.
Yeah.
It's worse than what you're saying. It's like, it's not even those poor people there who really are desperately poor. I would say that's all intentional also, because we do destroy these countries economically and physically. The Anglo-American Empire, or Anglo-American Israeli, whatever empire, they destroy these countries fiscally and physically. And, because anybody can grow a potato, especially a poor country. The hot countries, food grows on trees. If you just leave them alone, they can just eat. You know what I mean? They're getting disrupted.
I agree with you. Yeah, a lot of the poverty here is intentional. It fuels a lot of these racial it fuels the racial divides, and that's the division is what keeps everyone in check. Instead of sending these hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine or Israel or any of the nonsense, and just legitimately spent that money in fixing the inner cities, violence would pretty much disappear.
You know why?
But it's done intentional. Yeah. We got to have these hoods. We got to have these ghettos. We got to have maintain these divisions, racial divisions, these class divisions, and that's how they keep us in check.
It's
and
not
we don't
just
even realize it.
It's not just that. They have to show you. They have to put it in front of your face constantly, or people would object to the exorbitant taxes. So we have this warfare welfare warfare superstate. The Republicans just came out with the budget, tax cuts, and everything. Trillions of dollars of deficits every year. We're indebting our children. And the richest, arguably the wealthiest, most prosperous, highest standard of living society in history, or one of them. And we're indebting our children for what? For the welfare warfare superstate. They do that because if they're getting a piece of the action, they want the action to be as big as possible. And if you don't see if you don't feel the threat from other countries or see the poverty in front of you, you're going to want to stop paying those taxes. And so I want to talk a little bit about Iran. So what do you think is the reality there? So if anybody's listening to this later in time, it's June 25th, 2025, this week or last week or whatever, over the weekend, Trump popped off on the nuclear enrichment facilities. They're not nuclear weapons. They don't have nuclear weapons in Iran. And then just kind of stopped. So far, so stopped.
I'm starting to think there's a lot of shenanigans going on.
Iran's fake.
I mean, everything. See, a lot of people say there will be people that are pro-Iran, just like it's kind of frustrating. Same thing, there'll be people that are pro-Putin apologists. There are no good guys in all this stuff. So even though Iran allegedly did get bombed, through a terrorist strikes by Israel for no unprovoked reasons, because they've been saying that Iran's 2 months away from building a nuke.
Yeah,
2
for
months
30 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. They're months away. And what's the latest thing that Trump made this exquisite airstrike? And,
oh my God.
And some reports are saying that he just hit some freaking mountains.
Well, if you look, there should be craters, and I don't see the craters. If you want to get something underground, it should not be flat. But that's the thing. Like, he gets to, I guess he's going for the angle of making people feel studly about it,
yeah.
Which is weird. But I've been thinking for a while since Soleimani was killed. Soleimani was killed. And then Iran said, remember who Soleimani was? He was like, millions of people took to the streets to mourn this guy. I think he was a general or something. And they
said in his first term.
Yeah, Trump did that. I think Trump like literally murdered somebody, not even on American soil. It's like, fine. I mean, when
he wanted to fight Iran in his first term. This is what I said on Monday. I go, this myth, you know, that Trump was anti-war. If only we put in Trump, this Ukraine stuff wouldn't have happened. It's all nonsense. He was threatening Iran. I mean, he killed that guy in Iran. And then he was threatening Venezuela. People forgot about that. I'm like, what are you talking about? This guy was looking for wars. He just marketed himself as an anti-war guy.
It's so good, too. Yeah, it totally works. But they were supposed to retaliate. And then a bunch of Canadians and Ukrainians in a plane supposedly got blown up on a Turanian runway, and they're like, okay, I guess we're even now. It's like, what kind of like country stuff is that? Oh, and by the way,
Orwell's 1984.
Yeah. So I just after that I was like,
Tuesday we're fighting these guys. Wednesday we're no longer fighting with these guys. We're fighting with these guys instead.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And Trump withdrew the United States from that pact that Obama put in place that I got so much flack when I was on the radio. I was on a conservative radio station. And I read the deal. It's like, look, I can't stand Obama because he hates the Bill of Rights. And I don't think we have any business telling this country they're not allowed to have nuclear, whatever they want. Honestly, it's their sovereign nation. But this deal is going to work. And people were literally telling me that I was wrong about what was in it. And I was reading the text of the deal on the air. And they're like, that's not right. I'm like, I'm reading it. Like, I printed it out. I'm reading it. So I knew it would work, and it was working. And then Trump made up some reasons to withdraw us from it. And the things that had been dismantled were reinstated. And that's what he bombed. So he set it up anyway. It's been a big setup from the beginning. However, I now think after that Soleimani thing and after this happened this week, that Iran is completely complicit in a stage play, even though people will die.
Well, so I'm going to see if I can find that article. There's an article where this was months ago, where Iran is trying to do their own CBDC, and join. So this whole myth, this is kind of, I kind of got sidetracked, but this is what I want to say. There's people that are like pro Iran, 100% pro Putin and everything. It's like whatever, whoever's against America, I'm going to be on their side. No, they're all scummy, and even Iran. This whole myth that Iran doesn't belong isn't part of the central bank. That's why they're getting picked on, and that's why they're getting attacked, and blah blah blah. I think that's a sham, because they're working on their own. On Let me see if I can find the article. The whole CBDC thing. I'll pull it up if you want to.
Yeah, I'll tell.
Say a couple things.
Yes, so I was just looking up the vaccination rate in Iran. And lest people think that I do think there are heroes. I like Ron Paul, and I'm an anarchist, so it's not like I'm like pro Biden or whatever. But I don't think that he was an adult fool. I think that was an act. And right after he took office, they immediately assassinated Moise, the Haitian leader, who they'd want to take out before. He would not allow vaccines in that country. And there were other reasons they were taking him out, but that's a guy who cares about his country. He's not making any friends in big money if he's refusing the vaccine for his people. I don't care if you like him or not. That guy was not owned. And they immediately started shipping vaccines in as soon as they took him out. But
yeah.
And there was so much evidence that it was based in Miami. The plot, those guys left from Miami to kill him. Anyway, Iran said they fully vaccinated, which I guess it means 2 shots, 50% of the population by November 2021. But it was the Sinopharm one, which I don't know if that's mRNA, but I just feel like, I mean, like a CBDC, the fucking COVID thing, obviously everybody's cooperating. We're all in on it, except for those African countries where everybody got murdered. Like the leaders, like 53 leaders got murdered. It's like, okay, I guess that's what happens when you're legit. That's why it can be a little black pilling. So anyway, what were you looking for?
I'm trying to find this article about that very thing. But no, that the whole COVID narrative is exactly like, I wasn't sure, maybe there are some good guys here and there and whatnot. And when you see how Russia handled COVID, when you see how China handled COVID, and they handled it very similar to how the West did it, I'm like, yeah, they're all, the people at the very top, they're in cahoots. That doesn't mean no one's dying, no one's going through some bad times, of course. And they don't care about us. They are, okay, I found the article. They are willing to sacrifice us. I mean, look at 9/11. They don't care.
I know. They think
we are indispensable. Okay, sorry.
I'm looking for, I had this article in a mainstream thing about how many African leaders died.
I think it was 4 of them. 4 of them.
No, I think it was mistaken. Like 50. If you
wow.
just went like one level down.
So if you look at that article that I shared with you there.
Okay, what are you showing me up here? Okay, got it. Oh my gosh, to fight sanctions. That's the thing. We give them the reasons to.
Yeah. So for those, I mean, Central Bank of Iran promises CBDC launch fintech to fight sanctions. The digital rial is being developed for retail purposes so far, but the integration of Iranian payment systems with Russia may foil U.S. sanctions. Iran will launch a central bank digital currency, CBDC, in the near future. Central Bank of Iran, CBI Governor Mohammad Reza Farzin said at a national banking conference on November 25th. He called attention to the country's well-developed digital financial infrastructure and pledged to continue to innovate in the face of sanctions. And anyone that wants to read the entire article, it is on Cointelegraph. They have a little search engine. Just put in, I suppose, Central Bank of Iran, and it should come up.
So that is consistent with my thought that they so there's like the Trilateral Commission, whatever, Brzezinski, and they kind of go regional, and they're kind of working towards a world government by making it kind of modular so they can get regions that do all these things that can be integrated. So with COVID, they wanted to have like kind of international standards for money flows, for like vaccine templates. If these CBDCs are designed to talk to each other, it's not going to take much to smush countries and regions together. And we give them these excuses to do it. And it's actually probably easier regionally. So maybe that's why I've been thinking the West is aligning and forcing the East to align, giving them excuses to align. And it has to seem, fear is the best way to do that.
Yeah, one world order.
Yeah.
The new world order. Yeah, it seems like we're creeping that way. And this is why, I mean, kind of going back to Trump, I don't care if people say I have TDS, but he was the perfect and ideal candidate. The candidate of chaos. His base is super devout. I mean, I think I reposted his clip that he said a few years back where he could stand in the middle of the Fifth Avenue, shoot someone, and he wouldn't lose any supporters. And I feel that is the most honest comment he had ever said, because it's true. He does whatever. He can launch Operation Warp Speed, still won't lose supporters. He can lie about releasing the Epstein files, and people won't jump shit. He'll do an exquisite bombing on Iran unprovoked. And, people get behind. He can support Israel 100% in his base. We'll still support him.
Which this is like a paradox I can't get my mind around. How the alt media, podcast, whatever, can go so hard in the paint against Israel and then go further to where it's like enough to get you taken off the YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't see that this guy's grandchildren, his grandson, his son-in-law, like literally shared a bed with Netanyahu as a teenager. So I just have never understood how people that they don't see that. But I don't have TDS like that. I live out in LA where I criticize Trump for the wrong reasons to this crowd. Like I don't like the welfare warfare super state, and he's not reining that in at all. We have insane deficits. He's not. You probably wouldn't want him to cut Medicare and Medicaid and all that stuff. I do. Like I think that stuff's bad, and so I can't. I don't like about him the same thing I didn't like about any other president in my lifetime. And I don't think that he has any more power. I just think that he's like the quote you read. He's a figurehead that represents where we're at. And I mean, even if Ron Paul were controlled opposition, I would rather be represented by Ron Paul than someone who says, like, I just dropped this big, beautiful bomb and probably only killed a couple of people. It's like a couple of people is more than I want to have killed. Don't do it in my name.
Yeah, it's insane. I think when we saw the Joe Biden presidency, I mean, that pretty much sealed it in my mind that these guys are all puppets. I mean, I just can't fathom anyone legitimately looking at Joe Biden sitting behind a desk and making important calls when he was pooping his pants, couldn't remember his name, couldn't remember where to get off and on the stage.
Do you absolutely right? Do you think it's absolutely true that he was I mean, because they were talking about him having Alzheimer's like 10 years ago. Do you think there's any chance that was an act? I'm beginning to.
You look at him and he just looks so frail. He looked like he belonged in a home.
Well,
And
he's
so
got to be
when
a
I
good
see
actor, or he
when
wouldn't have made it that far.
well, I see that's where I feel where it set up the stage for Trump to come in. I mean, on Monday they were. I was kind of getting frustrated. I didn't voice this opinion, but I was getting frustrated because I almost felt like people were taking politics too serious. Like voting actually mattered.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does at all. I think it's all a charade. I mean, when you see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris like wishing Trump well, after his fake and staged assassination, if it were real, they would have been like, "Oh, that was fake. He didn't take no bullet," and calling him out. Then I'm like, "Oh man, maybe there's some reality to it." But our condolences to him. They almost blew out his head. This hasn't a place in American society. Blah blah blah. It's all theatrics, and maybe that's. I don't know. Maybe some people listening are like, "Oh, that's just a small view, of how the world, the world's more intricate and there's more moving parts." I suppose, but when
Not, yeah.
Well,
I just there are, but we're watching TV. Like, do you think that you know what I mean? It's just TV.
Yeah.
It's just two-dimensional. It's just a flat screen thing. We're not privy to any of this. I used to say that, like, you think Warren Buffett's waiting to find out what Obama's going to do next, or watching Fox or CNN to see what's happening. That it's like Fox tells you everything that's going on, tells you nothing. You're no closer to the truth, probably further away from it. But I want to say a couple of things. One is the voting, whether the voting matters, like we're going to end up in the same place, or whether votes really count, I don't know. But right before the election this time, man, people were pressuring me to vote for Trump, both on screen, off screen. You know what I mean? Like people at church, everything. And I'm like, you're fucking crazy. I'm not voting for war. I'm not, I have a million reasons not to warp speed. Like what? That was all nuts. And it was fake. So I always vote for Ron Paul, even though people are saying in the thing that he's
I don't trust any of them.
No, I don't trust him either. But what he represents,
is more in line with your values
what
and whatnot.
He says is 100% in line with that. But he basically endorsed Trump at the end. I think he really endorsed Trump at the end.
I used to listen to his podcast, but
when I saw
a ton, a lot, but when he was pushing Trump, I was like, man, I can't listen to. I like you, Ron Paul.
He's
but
old. I mean,
this
he's
is too much.
90. I think he's 90 this year, and he had like mini strokes, whatever. I'm not saying that he wouldn't do it anyway. I don't know. I'm not even talking about whether he's real or not. What I'm saying is every single thing he said, basically, I agreed with. I think the 9/11 stuff, he had to pull his punches because he was in Congress. But and that's that's as good as I'm going to get, is that somebody says, like, okay, they can say they're in favor of the Bill of Rights and really not be. But if they don't even say it, then I'm really on notice to not support. But with Biden, so the assassination is fake. I think I have to say, I think he looked very fit. Like, I understand what you're saying. He looked like he had that dumb look on his face. He looked like poop himself, but he was in good shape. He always had those nice suits. And what they're talking about now, you know what the investigation is against Biden right now? Do you remember what it is?
What's that?
Was there an auto pen for when he signed pardons for his 3 siblings and their spouses, or his son? I personally, I have the documents for the corruption that went on with his relatives, to as him in the literal background calling the shots, like to the point where there's a text from Hunter that says, I speak for my father when I say I'll be laughing over your dead body if you don't do what I say. Like, obviously his dad's thumbs were on that fucking phone, because this was during the period when that guy was, a drooling crackhead, whatever. So the controversy is he's being accused by Republicans of not being responsible for those pardons. How genius is that? Like, it was criminal pardoning those
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
And he did it. Of course he did it because they were representing him. It was his money. He was the one pulling the strings for all those years, all those corrupt deals in China, Ukraine, everything else. That's documented. And him acting like a moron, and I would say he was Trump's term 1B, because he got us into the Ukraine thing, which Trump set up by saying, Republicans don't want to give aid to Ukraine. And then all the Democrats were just like, oh, we have to give aid to Ukraine. I mean, that's the right thing to do. It's like really starting
Reverse
a war.
psychology.
Yes. So I think it's even faker than you think. And I sound like I have TDS. Absolutely don't have TDS, but it's just frustrating to me because I don't care if stuff's psyop or not. If you're not going to go to the mat for the Bill of Rights, we're doomed.
No, I agree, and I don't even care if people say I have TDS because I'm not cool with people. Like I said at the very beginning, if you were friends with Epstein for 15 years with a known pedophile, call me TDS all you want. I don't care if you're cool with that. The thing that's bugging me, and I know we're probably coming up on time, but one of the things that
I have time. Do you have a little more time? You got to go. I started late. I'm so
I got to wake up
sorry.
at 2 in the morning.
Disrespectful. I'm super, super sorry. No, we definitely can stop, but I'm okay. I'm super bummed.
Well, I did want to touch on one subject.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2.
I feel like we can do a lot, and I want to have you back on my show, and maybe if I can have a file of this show, I'd like to share it with the audience. I've loved it, but it's one of the things in the truth community that has really troubled me, and it's not just from the Monday thing, it's just the lack of consistency. People say one thing, during the COVID era, a lot of people were putting it back on lefty's face. My body, my choice. My body, my choice. I don't want to wear a mask. And so, but it's always flipping around. It doesn't matter if it's people on the left. It doesn't matter if it's people on the right. It's the lack of consistency. And so one of the things that has been bugging me lately, and I haven't talked about it, that's why I want to make sure I bring it up. Mm-hmm. And I've been talking to my buddy Twisted. He's in one of the live chats. Yeah, shout out to him. But we've been talking about the imposter ICE agents, border patrol raids. I spoke with my brother. He's from California as well, Southern California, and he was telling me his grandma back in the 1920s. So we have the same father, different moms. So from his mom's side, his grandma was deported illegally. She was a brown Indian Mexican American, and she got deported just because she was brown as hell. And so one of the things that has been bugging me is like, if you look like a brown Indian and these guys come and take you, I guess in my head, this is a controversial take. Some people are going to get mad about what I got to say, but it just seems so ridiculous. You're going to be looking for the most Indian looking dudes out there and basically kidnap them, and you don't know if they're illegal or not. And so there's been videos out there where Mexican Americans, people like myself, get tackled by these rogue tyrants that don't even show badges, don't show nothing. And then they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then they leave. Nothing. What happened to due process? And what angers me, and the reason my voice is elevated, is because a lot of these MAGAs that claim they're about the Constitution, they claim they're tired of what the left is doing to our rights. When it comes to this shit, where are they? Crickets, 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 quiet. Due process, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, is due to everyone in the United States, legal or not. And that's something that, again, the lack of consistency. And so I wanted to make sure I brought that point up.
Yeah. So I believe that I noticed immediately with this ice stuff because again, I'm out here. They freaking brought it to my town where there were no ice raids. Like Pasadena had thousands of people in the street. We couldn't function, and there was none of that here, and it was just a bunch of like whatever upper middle class white people, from what I understand, in the second wave. But my initial reaction was if this was meant to change policy or change the situation, you would do it in an orderly fashion. It was simply not good government from the perspective of sorry. It was not good government from the perspective of effectiveness. Like, I'm an anarchist, so I don't expect good government, but it was not good government. It was disruptive, it was provocative, and it gave Gavin Newsom an opportunity to be on top, to be the good guy. And that was just a gift to him. But it also continued a trend that I've noticed several elements of emerging, that, and two of them are the Alien Enemies Act, which is an old, they dusted that off. And like Posse Comitatus says, you can't use the Marines against U.S. citizens. So somebody literally got on Twitter and called me a lying bitch which I thought was kind of funny, because they weren't directed to use force against U.S. citizens. They were there to like protect federal property, which of course, why did the protesters go to federal property? Why did they give them an excuse? So it seemed very like designed to escalate, in my opinion. But I feel like underneath it all, they're pushing the envelope, justifying a lot of like civil rights, betraying the civil rights, so that if there is a real big war, they will do what they always do, which is throw you in jail for objecting to the war. And then they've got all these things on the books.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And Twisted is in the live chat. I thought he made a little video, and if I can share screen it so we can listen to it. If you listen to his point, Twisted, we're gonna make you famous right now. I think I'd like to hear his thoughts because he makes a very, very solid point here.
Watching all these ice raids, bounty hunters or whatever, no due process, kicking down doors, just snatching up brown people. This is unconstitutional. And all you fucking militia, redneck, fucking Second Amendment bitch ass motherfuckers sitting in your house, cleaning your fucking gun, jacking off to Donald Trump. Where you at? You fucking bitch ass motherfuckers. Talk a lot of shit. But now that they're attacking fucking Democrat cities, it's okay. But if Harris or Biden were doing this, you bitch ass motherfuckers would be at the state capitol fucking jacking off to fucking Donald Trump seeking a savior. This is a slippery slope. Today, it's illegals. Tomorrow, it is dissidents.
There you go.
I'm going to have to bleep the shit out of that for my...
I'm sorry. I forgot he cussed that much. I shouldn't have played it. But the point was, today it's illegals. Tomorrow it's dissidents. Yeah. That to me was the most powerful
that was
point
the point
right
of
there.
it. And it's going to... So on the one hand, I think it's meant to level up to be used against other people for other reasons, like war protests. But ultimately, when I look at what's really going on, I feel like this is a civilizational transformation to where we're totally digitized. And I understand that stuff's in the background now. You've got your metadata that had Elon Musk say, the IRS, like, we're going to get all that data. Of course, they have all that data. There's no accountability for any of that. And I think the idea is they need to bring that stuff online. They need to activate Skynet. You can call it Starlink, whatever. And they're going to activate all that stuff. And they need to soften us up for it. They need to give us reasons for it. But that's all. I don't really think that they're going to like actually blow up the earth. I think that we're just going to get digitized. And I think it'll suck because I think the standard of living will go down. Maybe our life expectancy will go down. Like it all sucks. But I feel like that's the highest level of what's happening here. But they tell you it's immigration, it's going to be war protests, but ultimately it's about reasons for surveillance and censorship, and just getting rid of due process in itself is one of their goals, is to just just plow it over so nobody on either side can object, because both sides will do it, and then they'll have their cheerleaders. So
Yeah, I mean,
I agree
I
with you.
think that's how J6. There's a lot of similarities to the protests with the ICE stuff with J6 in many ways. People that were legitimately protesting government overreach, where are they? They're still behind bars. Trump didn't come and save them.
Crazy.
And I think this is what's going on now. And I mean, even the whole thing with these bounty hunters, just snatching up people. Twisted made when we were talking privately, over the week. What's to stop some real bad people? Ooh, look at those pretty little women there. Because they're just kidnapping people. They're literally picking them off the street. I'm not exaggerating. They're picking them off the street and just throwing them in the back of their car. And they're dressed as bounty hunters or ICE agents or whatever. And so what's to stop someone with a criminal mind, with evil intentions to do any of that stuff?
That's a good point. And I used to think that when they quote privatize, I've never been in favor of that. Like I don't want the government to outsource and be more efficient or any of that. But when I used to think that it would have the same accountability, it actually does not. Like mercenaries, the human rights industry, anytime the government's outsourcing has less transparency and less accountability than if it was an actual government entity doing it. So that's all bad. And anyway, so I think we come from different points of view, but are with integrity objecting to what's happening right now. And I mean, it bums me out that that people are getting just so mad at each other when we really should be on the same side of defending these civil liberties.
Yeah.
And
But
people are just
again,
hating each
that's
other.
part of the game. That's part of the game to keep us divided, and that's how they continue.
I mean, Trump and Hillary don't hate each other.
No,
They
they're
don't
hanging
hate
out.
each other. Yeah, they're fine. But we all like literally say rant at each other. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go because you're getting up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's
Got
nuts.
a different job, so the hours are they're not fixed. So that's why I even had to move up
That's even
today's
worse.
for a little bit. Yeah, just up and down. But well, my other job, I was working 90-hour weeks. I'll be working 55, 60. So it's a lot less. It's a
You'll
lot
live
more
longer.
realistic. Yeah. So
If you
it
want
works
to.
out. Yeah.
I
Thank you
think
for having me,
everything.
Monica.
Yeah, it's my
Yeah.
pleasure. So I'm not a black belt person. I think that we need to just make sure we understand the principles that we still have these documents. We still have a right to claim the process. That is going to go away if we don't defend it. As my mother would say, use it or lose it. So
I just feel we're too late. And people will call me black pilled or whatever, but I don't care because I feel I'm being more realistic.
we're
It's just
not
too
too
far
late
gone,
if
man.
people push back. If people will just stop defending anyone who does this stuff, but maybe it's too late in the sense that we're so polarized that it's too late, but it's not.
Yeah.
They don't have control, or they wouldn't have 24/7 propaganda on every freaking medium. The podcasts, the news, the radio, academia, it's all constant propaganda. They are not secure, or they would not waste their time and effort doing that. But we got to wake up.
Absolutely.
And so maybe
Absolutely.
it is too late. All right, babe. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. You have such a nice little live crowd here. It's very fun to chit chat with them. And they're probably never been on YouTube before. Never been in the chat there. I better take this down immediately. Anyway, thank you so much, Weezy. I'm going to let you go. You don't have to hang out. Yeah, you have to hang out 1 second. Make sure I got your upload. Okay. Bye, everybody. This is Monica Perez with Weezy from What is Truth podcast.